Welcome to this week's iClass given by Rabbi Mendy Loewenthal from Chabad, South Kensington. This week's iClass is based on a Hasidic discourse taught by Rabbi Shmuel of Lubavitch, the Rebbe Maharash. At the start of this week's parsha, Hashem tells Avram, Lech Lacha, go. He tells him to leave his father's house, his birthplace, and to go to a land that Hashem will show him. There is much spoken about these few verses with many questions and many answers given by the great and illustrious rabbis over the past few thousand years. Right now, we would like to ask one question. Why must Avram go? Can he not be a good Jew where he is? Why is Hashem telling him Lech Lacha? To answer this question, we will put on Kabbalistic glasses and we will look at the world and its different parts, and we will also look at the soul, the world. The Kabbalists teach that the world we live in is not a simple world, but rather a deep and complex world. Our world is a layered world, with deeper and deeper realities, with its essence being the spark of Hashem that keeps everything going. In general, they categorize this system into four worlds. Before Hashem created anything, He thinks of the world He will create. It emanates from Him. The first world is the world of Atzilut, the world of emanation. Then He creates a hulk of matter, Baraisa, a shapeless hulk of existence. Baraisa. He then forms it, Yetzirah, and then makes it into a functioning existence, Asiya. Our soul. The soul is the spark of divine energy that gives life to the heap of bones and flesh we sometimes call a body. The Kabbalists teach that the soul comes from the world of Atzilut, the world of emanation. It is pre-matter, pre-bria. It comes from the world of emanation, Atzilut. Interestingly, the Kabbalists also teach that the Holy Land, Eretz Yisrael, is more connected to Atzilus. Abraham must leave his birthplace and go to Eretz Yisrael in order to connect to himself because his soul is from Atzilus. So Abraham is on a mission to find his soul. The question is, what about the Jewish people that don't live in the Holy Land? Does this mean that they are not connected to their souls? Or, if they are connected, then why does Abraham need to go to the Holy Land? Okay. To better understand the connection between Atzilus and the Holy Land of Eretz Yisrael, how can one say that Hashem is more in Eretz Yisrael? Does that mean Hashem is not in America? Chassidut explains this concept using the analogy of a person. Here we have a man. The man has a head, he has body, arm, he has hands, and he even has fingernails. Good. Now supposing the man suffers an injury in his head, God forbid. Would that be fatal? What about if he suffers an injury in his body? What about his arm? What about if the person suffers an injury in his fingernail? We could suggest that if one scratches his fingernail, then he won't feel much pain. Is the fingernail part of him? Yes, it is part of him. Is it tragic if his fingernail gets hurt? Yes, it's tragic. But at the same time, he won't feel his fingernail as much as he will feel his head, because a person is more involved in their head. The same with Hashem. Hashem is everywhere in the world. Everywhere. But at the same time, Hashem is more involved in Eretz Yisrael. When something happens there, God forbid, we feel it more. Now, let us read a teaching from the Babylonian Talmud, it's a beautiful story. It's interesting to note that this teaching appears in both the Talmud and in the Zohar. And we will read both versions and compare and analyze them both. Your comments and thought on this comparison are greatly appreciated. I have included the text in the notes at the bottom of the screen, just under the screen, for better understanding. So we're going to Gemara Chagiga, page 12b. It has been taught in a Baraisa. Rabbi Yose says, "Woe to those people who see but do not realize what they are seeing, who stand but do not realize upon what they are standing. The earth, upon what does it stand? Upon pillars, as it says, who shakes the earth from its place, and its pillars tremble. The pillars upon the waters, as it says, to him who spread out the earth upon the waters upon the mountains, the mountain upon the wind, etc., the wind upon the storm, etc. The storm is suspended from the arm of the Holy One, blessed be He." So we have here pillars, water, mountains, wind, storm, and then the arm of Hashem. Beautiful. Now let's look at the Zohar. The Zohar is on this week's Parsha in Lech Lacha, page 77a. Rabbi Yose taught, "How lovely are thy tabernacles, O Lord of hosts." This is a verse from Psalms. A beautiful verse. Rabbi Yose is teaching this teaching based on this verse in the Psalms. It is very appropriate for the Jewish people to look and see the work of Hashem, because many people don't know and don't look at how they and the world exists. When Hashem created the world, He made the Shamayim, the heavens, from Eish, fire, and Mayim, water, mixed together, and it did not freeze. After that, He froze it, and kept it with the supernal wind, and from that He established the world on pillars. These pillars are only standing because of the wind. The wind is freezing the Eish and Mayim, which results in the pillars. If the wind will go away, the whole world will shake and tremble, as it is written in Iyov, "Who shaketh the earth out of her place, and the pillars thereof tremble." And all of this is standing because of the Torah, because when the Jewish people work on and study the Torah, the world is kept alive. Okay. So this is the Zohar and the Talmud. They're very similar. They're both talking about pillars, water, mountains, the storm, they're both talking about the hidden structure of the world. But there are a few differences. Why does the Zohar connect this teaching to the Psalm? Why does the Zohar first speak about heaven, and in the Talmud it first speaks about the pillars under the ground? And it's also interesting to note that the Talmud's version is longer than that of the Zohar. One answer is that the Zohar was taught in Eretz Yisrael, in the Holy Land. It is Atzilut. It is talking more from Hashem's perspective. Hence, it first talks about heaven. In heaven, everything is simpler, it's purer. So the Zohar is shorter. In the Babylonian Talmud, it's outside the Holy Land. It's in the lowly lands, the lower lands outside of Eretz Yisrael. It's teaching from an earthly perspective, starting from the pillars under the ground and moving up to the arms of Hashem above the world. Outside of Israel, things are more complex, and hence the Babylonian Talmud is longer. And now we go back to Abraham. Abraham was not commanded to do the Torah. Therefore, when he did a mitzvah, when he did the Torah, he wasn't connecting to Hashem. We, however, we received the Torah on Mount Sinai, and we are commanded by Hashem to do the Torah, and therefore we can connect to Hashem and ourselves even in the lowly lands outside of Eretz Yisrael. Shabbat Shalom.